Hello folks. Well, after 2 or 3 days of cutting coals and marking on insignia, as you can see here, the drove is crazy. It's not finished, but I feel like I've got there in terms of the technique. I'm feeling the urge to do some balsa building, so I'm going to clear the decks, get these out of the way, and return to the Flare Fokker D7, and I think I'm going to do the tail surface today. Well, before I begin this, I think the eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that I'm moving on to doing the tail feathers before I've actually finished the fuselage, because there is no decking being added at all. And the reason for that is this dummy engine area. I'm going to do a little bit more research with a tipple in the computer onto what type of dummy engines I'm going to install, and if there's going to be an exhaust system down the side, because this is this combing, the way it's shown on the plans, is for a later variant, I believe. So I need to do a little bit of research before I go down that route. Let's have a look at the tail feathers then. Right, they're made up of mainly stick and balsa gluing, although there is some lightweight ply that you need to use the identification sheet to find the appropriate parts, and that makes up the horizontal the elevator and the rudder parts. I'm very impressed with the quality of the wood that's in the kit. It's been selected very carefully. It's lightweight for these parts, which obviously the main problem one has when you're building model aircraft is that they tend to be tail heavy. So the wood's been selected very carefully, and I'm really impressed with that. So without further ado, let's get cracking and get this all put together. This is one of the few parts that are pre-cut for the tail, and that's part 42. A block that goes there. And I need to be careful how I do this because the rest sort of hangs on it. Must get some more pins. Note to self there. And somebody asked what I was actually pinning into, and it's plasterboard. I saw Cliff Harvey do it a while back, and I thought that makes a lot of sense. Lasts quite a while as well before you need to flip it over and use the other side. It's cheap as chips. So, part 42 is down, part 28 here, and I'll pull out the part 28. That's quite stiff, which is what we want, and that's another impressive thing about the wood selection. It matches what it's meant to do. So I'll mark off the position for that. And I'll cut that with the razor saw. When it's thicker, heavier wood like this, you tend to get a better finish at fine. And I'm going to be using a white PVA glue for this. It's using the building trade, I believe. Very impressed with it. Even more so because it was supplied free from a fellow club member who had loads of it. I find it best to apply with a brush. I have used Cyan builds like this, I don't find anything wrong with that, but I'm not in any rush, so let's get that pinned on. And then once I've pinned this on, I think we'll do the remainder as a time lapse, otherwise it's going to get pretty tedious, this. Pin it into position. Yeah, happy with that. So, I'll start cutting the rest and you'll see it as speeded up. I've just paused there because although not shown on the plan, I'm going to add little gussets into the corners. Because I think it'll just make for a much more rigid structure. So I'm just adding them in the corner. Now there was a lot of discussion in the last video I posted about people claiming, well, you've got to use end grain when you're putting a gusset in. And you know, that's a fair point. But I'm going to soak these in CA anyway, and it's pretty academic because it just becomes a solid piece of CA impregnated balsa in the end. I don't think it's a big deal. Others do. You pays your money and you takes your choice. Mine isn't the only way of doing things. I don't kid anybody that that's the case. As an engineering friend said to me some time back, there are lots of ways of doing the same job. And you find what works for yourself. I'm not arrogant enough to claim that this is the correct way or the only way. It's just how I do it. So, gussets in place, pin that in to push it in nice and neatly to the corner. That'll make for a nice tough joint. Okay, back to the time lapse. As I mentioned, the wood quality selection in this kit is excellent, up so far at least. The material to make the ribs is lightweight, obviously keeping the weight down at the back end, but this wood is very, very strong, and that's what provides the structure for the horizontal stabilizer. So can't sing the praises enough, really, of how well this has been thought out. So I'm going to crack on with this now, putting in these, and that'll get the horizontal stabilizer completed. I think even as a time lapse this must be getting a bit monotonous, so I'm going to push ahead and get the rest of the structure done, and then the next time you see it we'll be lifting it off and I'll be starting on the rudder and the fin. Okay, well that's drying. I'm going to crack on and do the fin and the rudder. I've got a cutting plan here. The rudder parts are made out of this lightweight ply. It's all pre-cut. You identify the parts by looking on this sheet and matching them up. like doing a jigsaw. It's always fun looking for the missing part. So I need part 44. You can see the quality of how this comes out. Really impressive. It's cut out cleanly. 45. That's 45. And 46. And that's the long piece here. Now, I had mentioned that it seems to me that I could actually build another model by getting these cut out, laser cut. So I'm going to start the process. I should have started when I did the fuselage, but I can sort of do that by reverse engineering, doing the tracing the cutouts. I'm going to start compiling a log of the parts, which I think would need to be transferred onto laser burn. And that's part 46. And then from that, you could build another model. Now, there were loads of variants in terms of colour schemes of the Fokker D7. And I love First World War airplanes, so why not do this? That one's 45. This is for the rudder, and 44. And if anybody else wanted them, perhaps they may be available. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are regarding copyright. I wouldn't go ahead and do it if it wasn't allowed, of course. But I just don't know what the score is. Is it a bit like classical music, that it's now available to all? I don't know. Anyway, that's just a thought. So let's get these done. I'm going to actually super glue these together, CA them, because I think I'll get a really good bond doing that. The only thing I've got to be careful of is get the right parts for the right parts. Right, here we go. No, I'm not going to CA them. They need a little bit of fettling before I do that. No, I'm going to fettle them, and I'm going to not rush it, I'm going to use the white glue and do it properly, Mark, yeah? CA sometimes has its uses, but sometimes it's just a lazy dodge, and that was in danger of becoming a lazy dodge. Because that's not fitting properly, which we need to do. Right, I'm feeling ready now. PVA glue it. I've got the protective food wrap on the board so I can preserve the plan. If I want to build another one, it's no good if the plan's destroyed, is it? Somebody commented that they like the word fettle. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a Geordie word or a North of England word or just an old word that's not used very much. But he said he liked the word fettle because he understood exactly what it meant. It means fiddling about and trying to get things right. That's not a bad fit actually. Minimum fettling required. And the parts here nicely conform to what they're meant to be. Sometimes you get parts cut out when you put them on the plan, they're just, it's like a badly designed jigsaw, nothing seems to fit. But that's not the case here. I'm pleased with that. And being made out of this lightweight ply, it's going to be fairly robust. I need 29 for that. Well, actually I'm going to jump around a little bit here. I've got a piece cut for the fin. And once again, that's harder wood, which is good. Because you're going to hang the rudder off this. It needs to be, it's no good if it's just soft. Right, I'll crack on with this. We'll do this as a time lapse. And then I'll come back to it. I'll not lift it off the board in this video. I think we'll do that in the next video because the elevator, I need to unpin everything, and the elevator, the way it's been laid on the plan, it'll have to be turned round. So we'll come back to that and I'll show you all that when it's in the next video. But let's crack on with this. We'll do the rest as a time lapse. Had to pause from the time lapse there. I realised that this rear edge of the rudder needs to be packed up to allow for the taper, the wedge taper of the actual rudder itself. So I've taken it back off before the glue had set actually, packed it out with a 16th, and I'm now going to put the rear post in place. And then once that's done, we'll crack on once again with a time lapse, and then I'll summarise what I'm going to do next and where I'm up to. So too much haste, not enough concentration there. We all do it. One thing while I'm on and chatting, if you look closely, well, you can't look any closer than the camera set, can you? Wait a minute. You can see here that the rudder hinges are shown protruding into empty space behind this post. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a fillet of balsa into each one of these so that the rudder itself is securely hinged rather than that floating around midair. Right, back to the time lapse. We'll crack on with this and then I'll draw to a close. If you've watched so far, well done for the stamina. You may have experienced a little bit of a jump there. I got carried away and forgot to turn the time-lapse back on. But you get the gist of it now. A well-selected amount of material, the balsa was spot on in terms of its density and its weight. I couldn't have selected it better if I'd gone to one of those distant in the memory things called model shops and selected it myself. So I'm going to call this video to an end now. Off camera, I'll finish off the elevator and then we'll draw it all together. I'll do a little short video to pull everything together and you'll see that. But it's nice to get a little bit of therapeutic balsa cutting and gluing. I find it very relaxing. I've been stressed out doing some insignia on this gypsy moth. But never mind, it's all part of the modelling fun. Stay tuned. If you haven't done so, please subscribe. We're not far off hitting 3,000 subscribers, which it doesn't mean a great deal in itself. It's just a nice thing to think that there's that many people showing an interest in this sort of video content. So bye for now. Take care, everybody. Get creative.